Yeah, so it looks like the Q&A stuff isn't working because I was going to try and because I saw this tab that you got to flip on to get us ready. So
Okay. Are we live?
yeah,
Yes.
All right, welcome to another Geeks Under Grace live cast. We are anticipating Thomas's quick return. So until he can come back, I'm joined by JP Franco.
Hello, friends.
And Cody Armour.
How's it going?
The video didn't quite sync up.
Wait, with me?
Yeah, when you said hello, Cody was screwing the top off of his drink.
Oh.
So it picked up his video.
Oh, how sad. Well, hello, everyone, again.
So, JP, what's been going on?
Not too much this week. This past week, a few games came out, and I picked them up. I picked up Mario Party 10, which I think is pretty okay. Pretty okay. I know you don't have a Wii U anymore, Ryan and Cody. Have you played Mario Party 10 by any chance?
No, I haven't. I haven't played Mario Party since the N64.
Okay, well, I mean, not a lot has happened that's too good with it. I think probably the thing that is most notable about the new one is the Bowser Party, where you can play as 5 people and one of them is Bowser, etc. But it's like
that's cool.
It's missing something. Like as we were playing with a full group of people, and I just felt like it was kind of like meh. I still think that if you're like looking for a party game for the Wii U, just buy Nintendo Land. Like, we still had way more fun with Nintendo Land after we got done playing every mode of Mario Party. But anyway, also picked up Final Fantasy Type 0, and per the suggestion of one of our writers, and it's a lot of fun, actually. Granted, you can tell that it was originally a PSP game, which it was, and they HD'd it.
Okay, I was wondering what was the deal with it. I'm not a huge Final Fantasy fan, but my girlfriend is.
Well, I know the combat, isn't it very similar to Crisis Core?
Yes. The combat is probably the most fun part, especially since you can change your character kind of on the fly. Like, you're controlling one of your team of 3, and at any time in that battle, you can just switch over to one of the other players. But then you have like a cast of 14 people, I think, and each of them play very differently. So it's pretty fun. Though it's just funny because they like upped the graphics on those main characters, and then occasionally you'll be somewhere and you'll be talking to someone, and it's like it's such old graphics that it's like their eyes don't move, their faces are just like completely blank, and every once in a while I'm like, whoa, graphics have come quite a ways away. But again, this was a PSP game, so I guess that's not.
I was watching a quick look, and you can really tell where they put some extra polish on the characters and where they didn't.
Yes.
Because some of them really show that they still wasn't quite as HDified as some of the other characters.
Definitely. And then the only other thing that really happened this week is, so Hawkeye, the superhero, he's one of those superhero characters that I didn't really think much of, but over the past year, I've figured out that he's one of my absolute favorite superheroes. After reading, there's a really sweet comic book series called Hawkeye, and it's written by Matt Fraction. It started like a couple years ago, but it's ended now. But anyway, it's like so good, and so I was reading through all of it, and I was just like, man, he's such a great character. And so I started looking online, and they actually came out with a new action figure for him, it's him as well as a character animal that was in the comic book series called Pizza Dog. And so when I saw that Pizza Dog was available, I was like, and add to shopping cart. So Anyway, that's pretty much been my week. Final Fantasy, Mario Party 10, and Flash a dog action figure, because why not? What about you guys?
You go ahead,
Well,
Ryan.
I've been playing Bloodborne, and by playing I mean dying a lot and slowly progressing. You know, it's quite a lot of joy comes over me when I get past a part that I've like been stuck at for like the last 30 minutes. And the part I'm at now, like you're walking along and there's this guy that keeps talking to you of like, "Get stay away, Hunter. You're gonna pay." And then all of a sudden a machine gun starts shooting at you from the top of this building, and
What?
you have to like move around it on top of killing all these creatures that can easily take you out. So yeah, it's a lot of slow progression.
Is this on the PS4?
Yeah, it's on the PS4.
Okay.
I know some of us have been streaming it this week. I did some Tuesday, just using the PS4 stream, but my audio on my camera was muted and I didn't realize it. So that probably explain why people kept leaving. So I'm gonna try to stream again this weekend and actually run everything through my capture card so I can.
On the Geeks Under Grace Twitch, right?
No, I would do this weekend probably on the Geeks Under Grace Twitch. I just was being kind of lazy Tuesday and
No
just
worries.
streamed through mine.
Just so people know, we have a
Yeah.
GUG Twitch.
Yeah.
Great plug.
I cleaned my living room earlier today. That only took like 2 hours and 3 bags of trash. Not that it was messy, but I mean it was messy, but it wasn't like a filth. I'm just one of those when I finally get to that point of like, ugh, I'm tired of this place looking like this. I will clean and then like rearrange things and be like, I've looked at this once, I don't need it, throw it away. So yeah, a lot of stuff got thrown away today. My next big like spring cleaning is my bedroom, and you may never see me again.
By the way, Ryan, every time we've streamed something, I'm always looking at the shadow behind you that looks
Yes.
like a candle.
Right here? Yeah, what's the chandelier above me, the lights. Like it's,
I like to imagine that
Let me
you're
see if
doing
I can-
this by
me
like
try something.
candelabra. That you've just got a
see it.
giant.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm so glad you pointed it out because I thought it was just like really bad paint.
No.
Am I a terrible person?
No.
That's hilarious.
I'm like, he painted a sword on his wall, or
That's hilarious.
Man.
Can I
Makes way
change
more
that?
sense.
Well, let me change
I just
that
like to think
the other
that
way.
you're doing this by candlelight, basically.
Yes, because I'm an evil genius.
Oh,
Who doesn't go by candlelight?
that's
Yeah.
true. Totally.
Well, see, I have it pointing on. You should draw attention to the Firefly poster.
That is true.
Which a friend of mine got
good thing.
got that same poster on a T-shirt, and let's just say the picture she put on Facebook was really funny because she just thought, "Hey, look at this Firefly T-shirt I got," and not where the Firefly logo was placed on the T-shirt.
Howard Ying says, "Wish we could use the chat room for the live stream. We can't figure it out. It refuses to work for us. It hates us.
It keeps coming up and saying this feature is disabled, but when I click on the little tab to like flip it on, it comes up with the error. So I don't know if Google has disabled it momentarily or if it's just missing some plugin.
It's obviously run by Satan.
Yeah. So yeah, it kind of stinks because when the Q&A works, it's pretty awesome. I've used it before when we did the Hangout back in the old days. By old days, I mean last year.
But since we can't figure it out, please make your comments and questions in the Facebook thread that we posted this. If you're just not sure what that is, you should search for Geeks Under Grace community group, and you'll be able to find it. And you can just make all your comments and stuff there, and we'll try to get to it. And if we don't see it, then post it again. We'll see it eventually, so no worries.
Drew, I am jealous of you meeting Gina Torres and Jewel State tomorrow.
Oh.
Not only was Gina great on Firefly, she was great as Jasmine, I think was her name on Angel.
When I think of Jewel State, I think of a Nickelodeon show that she was Space Cases. Do you guys remember that show?
Now the only Nickelodeon show I remember is like Eat Your Shorts.
Oh, this one was a little bit after that, but it's a sci-fi show about these kids who get stranded on another planet. Like they're like space cadets or something, and then something happens to their ship, and I think it had one of the Power Rangers was even in it.
What?
And then Jewel State, ironically, she played like a mechanic in the show as well. So
what was the show? Because now that you say Crashland, I was like, oh, that.
It's called Space Cases, and what was cool is like each of them had an ability, and I think in the first half, Jewel State was a character, and she always had this invisible imaginary friend, but like her superpower was like if she could like scream and it would like cause like shock waves and stuff. But then, like in season 2 or whatever, something happened to Jewel's character, and it like swapped her out with her invisible imaginary friend, who really did exist. And so for some reason, Jewel State's character is forever gone off the show, but she is she's invisible on the show.
There was a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids TV show.
Probably didn't last long. Looks like.
No, she was on it as well. I was looking up her IMDb. All right, so I just closed down the show notes by accident.
Well, while you're getting into that, I not really much to talk about for my week, but I got Smash Bros. I have GameFly again. That's the big thing, so I can start playing video games once more. Smash Bros. Is first on my list because I have a lot of games I got to get through. But I want to buy Smash Bros. Because I feel like it's one that's going to be worth having for a long time.
Yes.
So I'm getting Smash Bros. I can't remember what else I put on my queue because you can get 2. Type 0 is one of them, but that's more for my girlfriend, and it's low. Like the availability is really low, so I probably won't get it for a while, which is fine.
Bummer.
But Smash Bros. Was high, which surprised me kind of, but I guess it's been out for a few months. And then I showed you guys the picture. His name is... Oh no, I forgot the name of this guy. The guy that's playing Spider-Man. Not necessarily, but he's being thought of for the Spider-Man. His name is Asa Butterfield. If you guys want to look that up. Not you guys, the cast, but the listeners. He's like a child. Like...
Yeah.
I know they said 14, but I didn't imagine just how young they're going. He's probably way older than he looks, but he looks like he could be 12.
Yeah.
Well, and that's part of the we're going to have this guy around for a while. So
that's true.
And since we want him to be high school, we want him to be actually somebody who is high school age and not their late 20s.
Yeah. I was really surprised. A lot of people are really mad about it. I think that he looks like a good Spider-Man. He just looks very, very young.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
I'm convinced that the success of Spider-Man is not going to be almost so much dependent on the writer as it is, on the actor, but rather it'll be more important on the writers. Because I feel like that's what's... who was the first Spider-Man? What was his name?
Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. Yes, Tobey Maguire. It could have been worse, but I think the writing was just awful, and I think that's what kind of did it in. So I'm hoping that whoever is writing for this new Spider-Man will hopefully put a lot into it, because I feel like there's a lot writing on it.
Obviously, I feel like they're gonna slap the Marvel logo on it, and it's gonna do well because of that. Unless they do something stupid like they did with Iron Man 3, where they completely ruin characters. As long as they're faithful, I think that it'll be.
I think Sony might come in and be like, oh, we want this guy, and Kevin Feige be like, I've only made like all the money in the last few years, so let's go with this guy. Do you want to make money, Sony? I mean, Spider-Man, I'm looking at the figures, hasn't been making that much money for you.
So this kind of goes. Yeah. This question kind of goes along with this, but this is from Josh Hale. What do you all predict will be the next big thing after superheroes have had their time as the mainstay of Hollywood blockbusters?
It'll never end. So. Yeah.
I could see anime being a big thing. I know that it's starting to be, and no one's done it well yet, really. But if you think about anime being like the reason that they started doing animes was because it was cheaper than special effects. And so now that we are able to actually do all of that, I could see that being the thing. I think geek culture is going to be in Hollywood for a long time.
Well, plus, and you also have a couple of like other 80s things that's getting in the works. It looks like the Robotech movie might actually be picking up some steam. I saw something earlier today where it looks like Sony is going to be making it. And that also goes into, anime, and with Ghost in the Shell also being worked on. Anime could be the next big thing, but also I don't see superhero movies ending anytime soon.
It's going to be a while. I mean, we got DC just really starting again, and we're going to have we're going to have them for another 10 years, I bet. Unless they do really bad.
I'm pretty sure Marvel's, their plan is going through like 2017, 2018.
Yeah, no, like 2020. Because you got to think
5 years there.
Yeah, because I don't think Avengers 3, I think it's 2018 and then 2019.
But a lot of people think that superhero movies will die with Marvel, and I think that really puts a lot of pressure on DC. Like, they have to make a good movie or it will die with Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's DC. Batman worked because it was dark and gritty. Because Batman is dark and gritty. Everything does DC. You do not need to be the dark and gritty universe.
That was okay. Everyone hates Green Lantern so bad. I loved it until I knew the story, and I had no problem with Green Lantern's humor. I don't think that was the issue of the movie, and for some reason that seems like that's what Warner Bros. Thinks. But it was because you made the characters awful and you didn't actually put any life into it. Sinestro makes me sad. When I found out who Sinestro was, I was very disappointed.
One thing that I was reading, I can't remember where this article was found, but they were basically arguing the point of how DC has kind of already made a big mistake in terms of saying, like, a few years ago they're like, oh, we're making a Justice League movie, and then they kind of explained their whole plan, like, okay, we're going to mainly focus on like a Justice League movie, and then maybe out of that, single movies will be made. And granted, that kind of changed a little bit with the Superman movie, and then now there's Batman and Superman, etc. But what Son was saying, what worked so well for Marvel was the surprise of the Avengers, kind of at the end of Iron Man. What? 2?
It was 1. One Captain Fury.
That was.
Is that really?
Yes. And I was like, that's a really good point, because you're just watching the Iron Man movie, and then it wasn't until the end that you were like, oh wait, what? The Avengers? What?
Yeah.
No.
And you didn't really know anything. You knew that there was something more going on, but you just at that time knew that Nick Fury was showing up and saying there are more heroes. So that could just be more stories, and there was no like for sure Avengers yet.
Yeah.
You didn't really know that until Thor, maybe.
Even the sneak peeks you had in movies. I mean, Man of Steel tried that. Like, if you go and watch it, you see like a Wayne Tech satellite and LexCorp. I think it was
everywhere. LexCorp was everywhere in the city.
But go watch like Iron Man 2. You know, there's a scene where he's in like an interrogation with Nick Fury, and he's got all the TVs and stuff around, and you see on the news the events of Incredible Hulk where the school is destroyed and other stuff like that. And it was just those like, and even the weird way of how like the movies are made, where while Iron Man 2 was going on, events from Incredible Hulk and part of Thor was going on.
And we have a follow-up question. Seeing how superhero films will be around for a while, what do you guys think about studios looking to adapt actual storylines from comic books as opposed to taking separate elements from many comic storylines? Would they ever go that route? Should they?
Well,
why or why not?
They have somewhat. I think it's. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite now because of like there's been more X-Men movies come out, but X-Men 2 was really one of the first ones that took a storyline from the comics and then kind of made it a movie around that. I mean, a few things has changed. Stryker in the comic wasn't a general, but I think he was a preacher.
Oh, right.
But the core of the, and even Days of Future Past was inspired by a comic story. So I like that. But I also like how Marvel is treating, like, yeah, this is, you know, the main comic universe is 616. This is just another universe, so we don't have to necessarily take stories from the comics and turn them into movies.
I think, I feel like copying or basing things off of comic book storylines is kind of a double-edged sword in some ways because, for one, it gets me super excited. Like, for example, X-Men Days of Future Past. I was like, what? This is an excellent storyline. I can't wait for this movie. However, the double-edged sword part of it is the fact that then you kind of set these expectations, and it's kind of disappointing whenever it's like, oh, wait, this is not really Days of Future Past, or you guys have taken out some really big chunks of it. For example, one of those things being how, and this is, I'm a little biased because Kitty Pryde is my favorite X-Men, but she had like such a huge role in the comic book version of Days of Future Past, but in this one, then in the movie, she's kind of just, her role is kind of a bit underwhelming because she doesn't really have that big of a role. They also gave her a superpower that she doesn't ever have in the comics, so I was like, who is this person? This is not the Kitty Pryde that I know. So I think you kind of have to balance of, like, you know, really just setting the expectation of, okay, like, this is maybe very loosely inspired by this, or if you're going to do that, just, you know, you may not get everything right, but try to follow like just the main big points of it. Try to make it work. That's
yeah. And I actually forgot about this with what I said earlier, but somebody just called me out that they are doing the Civil War storyline for Captain America 3. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that when I said, oh, Marvel's not really doing. But at the same time, though, like I don't know if that's going to be exactly the same. The more I've been thinking about it and reading some of the new rumors, how Captain Marvel might be in Captain America 3 or have some sort of appearance. And the other rumors of that from Captain America 3, you will see Captain America form a new team of Avengers, possibly like a secret Avengers kind of thing, which is cool, but at the same time, I was really kind of, honestly, as bad as this would sound, but hoping that they would kill Captain America at the end of this one.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Go ahead, Cody.
I was gonna say, like, I would love to say, you know, go away from the comic book sources and, you know, kind of do your own thing, be original. But then you get Iron Man 3. I don't know, I'm like, never mind. You just keep reading the comic books, go back to the sources, follow them as close as possible. And so, like you said, I think it's a double-edged sword because if you get too close to the storyline, then you're comparing the two, and the comic books are probably going to be better because they were the original story.
Yeah.
There are two comic book storylines that I would love to see movies come out of, which are, and this is, I'm speaking about Marvel, but like I mentioned earlier, Hawkeye, which was written by, or the Hawkeye series that's written by Matt Fraction, that one was super good because they made Hawkeye super. Hold on, they made him. I was about to say superhuman, but I meant like they made him very down to earth. Like he was very human. Like I think it even starts off with him like fighting a battle with the Avengers or having just finished one, and he is like he has to stay home for like half a month or so, just like straight up recovering. While like Wolverine is like, you know, kind of taunting him because he's just like, oh, you know, get better soon or whatever. But they
That's
show
what I'd like to see an original story for is Hawkeye and Black Widow.
Yeah, and that was actually that was a great segue because the second storyline is the current Black Widow series is also really good, but it's kind of the same deal where they're showing a different part of her life. Granted, she's doing a lot of espionage even while like it's her real life, but you kind of get to see this different side of her. As well as like you got to see this different side of Hawkeye. I would love if they either made separate movies for them or even one combined one. I think that would just be super fun.
I feel like they're not roles with all the other Marvel movies going on right now. They're not two characters that could hold their own in their own movie. Just because of the special effect factor. I think Captain America kind of disproves that maybe a little bit, but I think putting them together and putting them in a movie where they can actually use each other as crutches to act for one another.
Yeah.
I think it would work a lot better. As Scarlett Johansson, I know everyone loves her, but as Black Widow, I don't think she's like the most amazing thing in the world. She does well, and she plays the part fine, but I couldn't see her having her own movie. Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. No offense, Scarlett Johansson, you're fantastic. And same with Jeremy Renner.
It is a little bit strange reading Black Widow and then comparing it to the movie because sometimes I'm like, you know, they almost seem like two very different characters. Though for whatever reason I feel like it kind of works for some reason, like, but I wouldn't say that Black Widow in the movie is very similar to what we see in the comics.
Maybe it's because they both play supporting roles that I think that they should be supporting roles. That might be part of it, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely think they could support each other really well.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to get into the first topic?
Yeah, we should probably explain that to them. We have two topics that we chose out to talk about while you guys kind of come up with questions for us that will be more focused.
So, first topic, is technology a helper or a time waster? Hold on while I check my Facebook. So
I feel like we need to narrow it down because technology has been a huge help.
Okay, I'll put it like this. There has been several times here recently where it's like, I really need to get something done, but there's one more episode of Buffy I can watch. I'm actually currently going through Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm in like
good.
2 now. Yeah. Or I should really be paying attention to what's going on right now, but it's been 5 minutes. Let's see if somebody's posted something on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram.
I hate... Go ahead, Jimmy.
Thank you. There is some meme that I saw on Reddit once, because I frequent the Reddit quite often, and it made me laugh because I was like, this is so true. But it's like, it's someone like scrolling through Reddit, and it's just like, they're like, well, finally checked like the last page of Reddit, or like I'm done checking Reddit. Better go see what's on Reddit. Like, I'm just like restarting over. I feel like that I have definitely done that loop before, where I'm like scrolling through, and then I'm like, well, all right, nothing, and then I'll exit out, and I'm like, what should I do now? And it's like, open new tab, Reddit.com. let's see if anyone else has updated something while I've been searching for that stuff. So I have fallen to the trap of it being a time waster for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some great things like, I'm back in school right now, and I just am very absent-minded when it comes to short-term, and can easily forget something like a couple weeks ago, I forgot I had a paper due on a Tuesday and had set my alarm to remind me, but for some reason I set it the morning the paper was due.
Oh.
So on the way driving to school, my phone went off and I was like, oh my goodness. So I had to like turn it in the next day. And so it's been nice. I've actually been setting like a couple of days ahead. Hey, you've got a test to study for. Or hey, this paper is due on this day.
Well, that's a good idea.
I was just kind of behind the scenes for people, but everything that we do in Geeks Under Grace is communicated through Facebook, and so I've been trying to volunteer full time for Geeks Under Grace, but I always end up on Facebook. So hard to be like, oh, I want to talk to somebody. And then there's a whole conversation about movies or something, and I'm like, I'm going to talk about movies for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah. Or another big problem. Well, yeah, this stuff is great. Like, you know, when I'm like, if I have a computer problem, especially when I was working at Staples, and it was Easy Tech, and it was like, oh yeah, that's what's wrong with your computer. Google. Yeah, it's this.
So, what would you guys say are? Because I agree that technology can be good and bad. Like it, I mean, I think we can all say that we all use technology to help with our daily lives. So, what are different tools, technological tools that you guys use to help you get stuff done or stay organized or whatever?
I've been trying to use Google Calendar. That's been really good for me. Getting my videos out almost on time.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, the calendar I've really finally started using. There's been a couple times where I'm like, okay, man, I'm gonna become an adult. I'm gonna start waking up at 7 o'clock, and I'm gonna use this calendar app thing that I downloaded, and then it's like, what alarm goes off? I really don't have to be up for like another 2 hours. And I'll go back to sleep. And it's honestly been recently that I'm trying to change that and start using the calendar app in a smart way. And you know, like I said earlier, cleaning this apartment up. I think that's been a lot of my. I don't want to get anything done. Let me just sit here in this trash.
For me, if you guys are looking for good tools to kind of help you out, Evernote is really good.
I keep hearing that.
Yeah, it's great. It helps. It's just a note-taking app, but there are some really good features. For example, like you can set things up into different notebooks. Like so, you could have a notebook for school, a notebook for work, or just personal stuff. But then you then just make little posts in there, and you can add pictures or whatever. But what's cool is, like, say you have a post for school, and at the very end of class, you take a picture of the dry erase board or whatever it is that they're writing on. It can actually analyze the handwritten text and then make it searchable. So you can write some notes down, take a picture of it, and then next time if you're like trying to find something and you can't remember what note it's under, you can just search for the word, and it'll even like look through words that are in your photos, if that makes sense. And so that's pretty cool. What else? What else would I recommend? No, I really like Evernote. This is another example of like another tool that can help you, even though I know it's probably something a little divisive. So I usually read my Bible through an app and not a physical Bible. I know some people are like, no, I only read from the physical book. But for me, it super helps to have something digital because do you guys use?
I have the
YouVersion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that one because you can, or at least the reason why I use it is because I can make notes just on the fly. I can then easily go find those notes. Highlighting things is really helpful, as well as I'm someone who bounces between translations. Like I will I'll like read something in NIV and I'll be like, I wonder how this is phrased in the ESV version, and so then I'll just like switch it out, which makes it super easy, and so I don't have to carry multiple books or anything. I like it.
Version I like, a translation, the OJB, Orthodox Jewish Bible.
Huh.
It kind of seriously, because it will refer to some things in like their Jewish name, and so it's nice to use that and kind of look up. Yeah, because it's like instead of the book of Ephesians, it's Keilah in Ephesus, or Timotheos, or I probably just messed that up. But
no, I got what you're saying.
Yeah. I didn't use YouVersion much until they had the ability where you can now download the actual Bible, like on your phone. So if you want a certain version, you can download it. Because for whatever reason, every church that I would go to wouldn't have service.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't have a Bible.
That is a good point. I had to do that as well. I kind of forgot about that, but I did download the different versions.
Yeah, now that you can download them, it's a lot better.
I also think it's funny how like now in the YouVersion app you have friends and stuff, and you can like see what they're doing. And
also, YouVersion is really good because you can do reading plans, and it makes it like super easy to keep track of your Bible reading, because you can every Bible reading plan may have like, okay, for today you read these chapters or these verses, and you can like check mark them off once you've read them, or as you read them it will automatically check them off. So it's like,
and then some days you can like, oh man, I missed a day, click catch me up, or have where it emails you a reminder.
Yeah.
Because I need that. Howard, go do your homework. Right now.
Should we answer a few more questions?
We enjoy you listening to us, but Wesley, Sir Wesley Wood, I don't know who that is.
I think it's Wood.
Yeah, he has a question. Answer the question as to when the first GUG convention would be.
As soon as we are as big as the Bronies.
It will be later this year.
So never. I don't think we can. I don't think anyone can compete with Bronies.
Get as big as the Brodies. If they have a convention, we can get a convention. We are actually working on a booth if anyone's interested. It's a long ways down the road, but we would like to go to different conventions and have a booth and kind of evangelize that way. I think it'd be a really cool way to do it. It's a lot better than, picket fences outside, picket contests.
Yes. Some of us might be at Comic-Con, the big one this year, so
that too.
We might have to try and set something up. But no, the GUG convention will be this October
in Alaska.
It's going to be in South Africa. So
that is more accurate.
So if you're in the area, come on down to Cape Town. And,
for those who don't know, the website has a huge volume from South Africa that visits the site. And we have no idea why, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's like almost half our traffic. Canada's catching up.
We love you, South Africa.
So, Joshua,
I would love one day, one of my dream trips on like my bucket list, honestly, is to go to South Africa, because I want to go to Seal Island, where the great whites breach and eat the seals, where they jump out of the water. It'd be so awesome, especially like if they'd let me get in a cage, like in the water.
That would be a thing. That would be intense.
We skipped Joshua still talking about studios and superhero movies, because one found success one way, we should say that another one couldn't do it another way. Talking about DC being dark and brooding for everybody. I don't necessarily think that they can't do it another way. I just think that the way they're doing it is faulty.
Yeah, it's a huge risk, because what worked for Marvel? Let's not look at that they've really played it safe with all their movies. They have made a movie for the family in every movie. What worked with them was the individual movies first, then the team movie. Because by the time the team movie came along, you knew who the guy was with the hammer, you knew who the guy was in the red, white, and blue pajamas.
One thing that I always thought was kind of interesting was that Batman vs Superman is essentially like pre-Justice League. I mean, it might as well be called Justice League.
Now, one thing that
This isn't Batman vs Superman.
I think what could make this Batman vs Superman movie work. Have they said if Cyborg is going to be in this movie?
Yes. I don't know if he'll be Cyborg or if he'll be Victor Stone at the time, though.
Okay. When they relaunched New 52, they had the first Justice League storyline was them kind of like showing up and coming together to help this bigger threat, and it starts off with like Batman and Green Lantern already knowing each other, and there's this small moment where Superman and Batman do fight, but it's mostly because they don't know who each other are yet, and you Batman being Batman is like how dare you? I'm gonna punch you in the face because I'm Batman, you know.
They should just live action Justice League War.
Yeah, like
the show.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because that worked, because it was able to introduce the characters in a way that just didn't seem tacked on. And honestly, right now, it's like, who else are you gonna add? Are you gonna add Mr. Boomerang and Plastic Man?
Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, whatever.
It'll be. I'm curious if they will follow Marvel's new lead of not really having like origin stories, because if that might be one thing that they're doing, to kind of just jump right in and be like, well, we assume you know who Wonder Woman is, and we assume you know who Aquaman is, or whatever. But
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if that's how they go that route, or if it's really going to be like, you know, just jumping in without really, and then having to, yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, I will probably go see it in theaters. I will.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't. And then maybe this is a good thing, but I don't really necessarily have like super high expectations, so maybe I'll really enjoy the movie. Whereas sometimes I worry myself about Avengers movies or Marvel movies because I'm like, I'll have these high expectations and I'm expecting a lot from them. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, which blew away my expectations. So.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see.
Mike Pyatt. Have any of y'all encountered someone that you got me before about it because I said something about y'all. Have any? I can't even say it though. Have all of you encountered?
Look,
any of you encountered?
I'm the one from the South, so let me read this.
Okay.
Have any of y'all encountered someone that was trying to be geeky, but you knew that they were faking it? If so, how did you deal with it?
Does that bother you guys? If someone is trying to be geeky and they're not?
You see, I don't know if I really have. I feel like most people don't want to be geeky, so they'll like. Yeah. I've met more people who reveal themselves to be geeky to me later, who are like, by the way, I've never told anybody this, but I read manga. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, a friend of mine, when we first started hanging out and stuff, I forget exactly the why the conversation started, how it started this way or something. But I was like, everybody's nerdy. I was like, you're a nerd. I was like, you're the one I ask about music, you know, about like, oh, is this band good or not? And usually you know, so you're a music nerd. I was like, just because you don't play video games or like read comic books and stuff doesn't mean you're not a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, she kind of got mad at me and like, but it's to the point now where it's something I pick on her at, especially within the last couple of years. She has full-on embraced the geekiness, and a lot of it came from me dragging her along to all these comic book movies, especially the first couple of X-Men movies and stuff. And now it's like Firefly T-shirt. Once Upon a Tea actually this week has some X-Men shirts in their collection, and there's actually one I'm thinking. There was one I was going to get. It's Wolverine, and it's kind of a splash paint, and it's him in the yellow and blue suits, and it's just
I think I saw that.
And it's his, it's crossed like that. And one thing I like with Once Upon a T is they have extra tall. They have XLT. They have tall sizes. Because even if I get a 2XL and it fits great, after a couple of washes, it's still gonna fit good, but it's gonna be like if I was raising my arms up, you'd see more of my belly than I would want you to see.
Howard Ying says, in my school, being geeky is completely normal, or that's just the crowd I hang around. Which actually kind of reminds me of, there's a Parks and Recreation quote where Tom says to Ben, and he's like, Tom calls Ben a nerd, and or a geek or something, kind of in a derogatory manner, and Ben is like, well, actually, nerds are currently the zeitgeist of our culture, or something like that. And he's like, so really, when you call me a nerd, you're the one that's out of the loop, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Tom is just like, shut up, like, you're a nerd. I like this question.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I feel like I am the geek who's not really a geek. Like, I love superhero movies, and I'll geek out about that way over, but when it comes to, like, I'll say I'm a gamer, but I don't really play that many video games. I play some video games. Or I love comic books, but I don't read a lot of comic books. I just read comic books here and there. It's definitely like, but I've never been bothered. I'm thinking maybe that's why I'm not bothered, is because I'm really...
But we have something to talk to you about, Coach.
Yeah. This is how you respond.
This is actually an intervention. Surprise!
Brought everyone here.
GUGcast.
But it's weird because if you show me anything that's geeky, I'm usually all about it. So it's weird.
We have this question going back to our topic from Josh. How has technology affected the way you approach ministering and witnessing? How does geek culture positively, negatively affect your Christian walk? That's a good question, Josh. Mr. Hale.
I think I can add some comment going back to, I think it was one of the topics we talked about last time we did this, about like being toxic online. Was it on the last one?
Yeah.
It's not as bad now, like with shooters, I will say, like playing Call of Duty, but yeah, there used to be that moment where it was like, play a couple hours of Call of Duty and start losing a bunch, and the bad words start coming out. And yeah, I would just feel bad afterwards, and that's why there for a while I stopped playing online, just because it was like, well, what if somebody heard me, and then I say something about, or they see my gamer profile, and back then on 360 I used to have like Jesus Pones as like my name title, But that was in the hardcore Christian gamer days. We actually had bumper stickers, and if Drew, if you're still watching, if you have some of those bumper stickers, I want one. You probably don't. You've moved like 4 times since then. So, but anyways, actually no, I don't want one of those because it has another website on it. You should. So never mind. But yeah, I think that's some of it. I think another thing, it's something we still kind of don't like to talk about, but it's getting more and more up front. But it's 2 clicks away to see the red light district of the internet, and there's many times where it has stopped me from ministering to somebody because that little thought in the back of my head has been like, really, you gonna share Jesus with this person? I know what you watched last night.
Yeah. One thing that I was thinking about, this is one way that technology has created a positive effect, I think, or at least helps me out, like, as a tool. Speaking of Evernote earlier, I actually have one of my notebooks. This is going to sound really creepy, I promise, but it's not. That's what I promise. It's going to sound creepy, but it's not. So one of my notebooks that I have under Evernote is a people notebook where I write down.
Is it a death note?
No. And they've died. No, that's not. So what I do is when I meet somebody, I'll have a conversation with them. I'm usually really good at asking them questions. And typically I will write those down, or I'll write the important things down, so that later, if I run into them again, I can ask them about how that stuff is going or whatever. I don't think that's someone might say that's me being not genuine or something, but that's just how I remember things. I need to write them down, or I'll probably forget them, like names or whatever. But I also include a picture of them, all this other stuff. So that part's maybe a little bit creepy, but it kind of helps me later when I'm asking how they're doing, and especially if they have prayer requests, I can write them down there so I can revisit them later and all that stuff. So that kind of helps me. I know there's a prayer app that some of us use to kind of log things we've been
What's the
praying
name
for.
of that? Yeah.
Is it Instapray?
I think so.
So that's a good tool.
How does geek culture positively? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think most of us would, writing for this website and being involved with Geeks Under Grace, that is, I think, something that positively influences how we can use geekiness and technology to reach out to people. I think it is interesting whenever I am at my local comic book shop or whatever, and it's interesting when you're interacting with somebody who kind of assumes that you're not a Christian, because most people in the shop aren't, and so they'll just start saying things or that you wouldn't normally hear, or because they don't believe that you're a Christian, or they just don't know. But then that gives you a neat opportunity to be oh, I'm a geek and I'm also Christian, and I read comic books and I'm also Christian, and sometimes people are kind of taken aback by that and just kind of that's weird. What are you doing here?
I was going to say, that's one of the really exciting things about being a Christian and a geek for everybody, is that it's kind of a new thing for people. Geek culture doesn't have a lot of Christians, and so we have this kind of new medium as Christians to get into and to minister to people. It's something that not everyone is doing. It's something that you, as a geek, are uniquely qualified for, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it's it's great too, because there's other groups that's like us. Probably one, especially if you're more sci-fi. I always recommend people go check out Fans for Christ, because they're more tabletop and sci-fi as far as what they do. Those guys are awesome. They go to some conventions now. I actually saw them last year at Wizard World, and they had Kit there.
It's a car Kit.
Yeah. I've been Cat, Peter Cullen. That'd be awesome. All right, so if we got a couple more questions, we might go ahead and take one or two more and go ahead and close her out. But I don't see anything new that has popped up. So in that case, if y'all don't have any closing remarks, oh, I always forget this. JP, how can everybody reach us?
Well, there are a lot of places you can reach us. We have the Geeks Under Grace website, geeksundergrace.com. We have several Facebook pages. If you search for Geeks Under Grace on Facebook, you will just find a one page called Geeks Under Grace and another called Geeks Under Grace Gamers. The gaming one, surprise, is more gaming related. We also have a community group on Facebook. If you search for the Geeks Under Grace community group, you will find that. We are on Twitch, twitch.tv/geeksundergrace, I'd assume. Right?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Twitch.com
yeah, it's
.tv/geeksundergrace.
Yeah, it's
okay, great, thank you.
It's still kind of in the works.
And then you can find us on Twitter, twitter.com/geeksundergrace.
And I will say this with the community group. We have one comment, one thread about Song of Solomon that probably stopped being about Song of Solomon about 600 or 6,500 comments ago, because it's well over 7,000 comments now. But apparently we have another group within the overall group that is now on another thread that is trying to build it up and compete against the Song of Solomon thread or something.
Is that the one that's asking
where 1,000 thread is? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thread that was like over 1,000 comments, and it got a little heated or something. Like by the time I saw that the thing had come up that it needed some admin assistance, it had already been taken care of, so I didn't see what the thread was about. And so yeah, somebody's like, "Hey, what happened to that thread? What was y'all talking?" Everybody's like, "Ah, we'll just make this a new one." Randomness. So be prepared, you know. It's a group of people talking about Jesus and comic books and video games all in one thing, but it's also some goofballs in there. So that's the best kind of people, because it's my kind of people and your kind of people. Well, with nothing else, to the 9 viewers that we have and kind of been constantly around that, once again, thanks for watching, and y'all have a blessed week. Hopefully we will soon be back to traditional podcast format. Thomas, we miss you.
Please come back.